We're getting ready to head out fishing. I got my fishing buddy with me today, my son Aiden, and we're going to go fishing for some crappies today. We're going to talk about what we're doing, how we're doing it, and hopefully catch some fish. So one of the things I like to do is I always watch my Humminbird Helix 9 and watch for break-offs, break lines, drop-offs. Looking at some weeds here coming up off the bottom. We're sliding out into 14 feet of water. Main basin on this lake is about 17 to 19 feet, and we're going to be fishing a flat in about 4 feet of water and fishing some bulrush. Now I want you to keep an eye on the graph here. This is where we're going to be coming up the break. Obviously we got a few fish hanging right on that break edge right here. And again, we were in 19 feet of water. We're slowly creeping up to 12 feet. Pretty soon we're going to hit a little bit of a weed edge. You can see that right here. And then that's going to drop us up right up into the shallows we're looking for. Now, once the fish are off the spawn, we're going to come back and fish this kind of stuff in about 2 weeks. Well, right now, we're looking at fishing those reeds and bulrushes that are out there right in front of us. So our rig today is super simple. It's just a Berkeley 2.5 centimeter minnow, a little crappie jig head, and a bobber. We'll talk about why that bobber is important in just a little bit. So one of the keys to successfully fishing these reeds is making sure that your bait is adjacent to the bulrushes or reeds or grass or sticks or brush, whatever it is that you're fishing, because that's where those fish are holding up. So you can see having your bait next to those reeds works pretty darn good. This is our first fish of the day. Nice crappie. See, he's got it right there. He took his mouth. So one of the things I'm doing to keep the boat in position, and that's extremely important when you're fishing this kind of structure, I'm actually using my bow mount, my spot lock on my Minn Kota Ultrex, and it's kind of like an anchor. So I push this button right here, that locks it in place. You can see right here, locks it into place, and then it keeps the boat in this position for us at all times, and then I can focus on fishing. Now you might be wondering how come I'm not using my Humminbird Helix 9 while we're fishing in 3 feet of water, and we're fishing visible structures, so we don't really need one. You can see bow mount's shifting a little bit to keep us in position so we can make a good cast. And you can see you got a bobber right out there working right along the edge. So essentially what I'm doing is moving the boat in and out around the edges of these reed beds, these bulrush, and casting to the pockets, looking for active fish. Well, there's my bobber, sitting right there, just waiting for it to go under. Another guy. Sometimes you get a surprise, and today we got a smallmouth bass. Aiden's gonna hold his mouth open for us so we can take a look in there. Looks like a big mouth for a smallmouth. Nice fish. Oh, look at that. Even hooked up. Nice crappie. So again, one of the keys to being successful on these reeds is being close to them. You get more than 2 feet off with your bobber, and you might as well reel in and rethrow. So one of the things I really love about the Ultrex, so with the spot lock, is that I can put that down, boat stays in one position, and I stay right here. fishing off the back of the boat. Well, it's 11 o'clock. Time to go have some lunch. We had a pretty good morning. We caught several crappies, caught a smallmouth bass, we caught a northern pike, a couple bluegills, and a perch. We'll show you some of the crappie in just a second once we get back to the dock. So we spent the day catching crappies, and we were using a technique with a bobber and a little jig with a minnow imitating bait on it. One of the things we found is that the bobber was key in our success. And that bobber allows that bait to kind of hang right in those crappies' faces instead of going without a bobber and having it sink and flash right past them. Now, one of the things I noticed is that I fished those same areas in a kayak without a bobber earlier in the week and didn't do any good at all. And yet we came back and switched to the bobbers, and it was pretty good. 10 to 12 inch range, which is pretty good for a crappie, and released a few of those, and we caught a few smaller ones as well, so there's some decent size structure in there too. Alright, so we're back from our fishing outing. We're going to take a few minutes and look at some crappies, talk about them, their body features, and show off our catch a little bit. Time to get into the live well. Alright, so this is our crappie. This is a black crappie. One of the things I really like about them is they're just a beautiful fish. You can kind of see their body design. Notice that they're light on the underside and dark on the top. So if you're a predator and you're beneath them, you see light color. And if you are a predator above them, you see the dark color, and the fish blend in really good. The other thing I really like about them is they got a gigantic mouth. Again, this is a black crappie. This is a male. This time of year, the males get really dark, and they spawn on vegetation. So there you go. Again, definitely a big black crappie. Alright, so our setup today is pretty simple. We've got a jig with a little plastic keeper on there. We've got a fluorocarbon leader, probably about 2.5 to 3 feet, and a pencil bobber. Soft plastic of choice today, Berkeley power bait. These are the 2.5 centimeter minnows, pearl white, and I'm going to show you how to rig one of those right now. So this is what they look like. I'm going to thread it right onto the main hook. Bring it through. See, it's going to go right on that little hook. And that's how it looks. Again, it's on a fluorocarbon leader. If you don't have fluorocarbon, monofilament's fine. And a bobber. Now, one of the things that's super important is you can't make the jig head that you're using be heavier than your bobber can support. So that's something that's kind of tricky in this process that you got to be aware of. Otherwise, you're going to think you're getting bites all the time, or your bobber's not going to float like you want it to. So you want to make sure to pair the size of the bobber with the size of your jig head and your bait. Technique is real simple. You saw the reeds we showed you earlier. You throw as close to the reeds as you possibly can. Let it sit for about 15-30 seconds and wait for a bite. So sometimes the fish will pick it up on an up bite. And what I mean by that is your bobber will be sitting flat in the water, and typically when you get a bite, your bobber goes under. But in this case, sometimes your bobber lays to the side, or it just kind of moves to the side one way or the other, because those crappies like to feed up onto the bait. So you can imagine if your bait is here, if a fish bites it and pulls down, you're going to have that traditional bobber bite. But sometimes the fish moves up on it, this bobber doesn't change a whole lot. So you have to watch super careful to make sure you know what you're doing. The other thing you need to be good at is casting. If you're throwing into reeds and bulrushes and sticks and brush, getting to the edge of it and not into it is super important, because if you're in them, you're going to be snagged all the time. You're going to lose all your bobbers, and it's just going to be frustrating.
It's kind of funny, the spot that I fished yesterday, in the trees, there were 4 bobbers hanging in the trees right in the area where I was fishing. Obviously, people need to work on their casting skills a little bit. Always important, you got to be near the cover, but not in the cover. Again, it's late May. Crappies are in the process of spawning. You want to find some, you want to catch some for dinner, or just catch some because they're fun to catch and they're a really cool fish. Get yourself some Berkeley power bait, 5 centimeter minnows, pearl, white, albino, silver. Any of them can work. Get yourself a little jig, thread it on there correctly, just like this, and go find yourself some bulrushes or some grass or some reeds, and you'll probably find some crappies. Hey, and fanatics, if you find those reeds, you're going to find these crappies. Hey, good luck. Have great fishing success. Try these techniques. They work.